The sky over Velthara burned red with smoke and fire. Tay ran through the broken streets, his heart pounding hard in his chest. Somewhere behind him, his team was fighting to reach the evacuation point. Somewhere ahead, enemy forces waited in the ruins of what used to be a beautiful city. He should not be here. None of them should be here. Tay was a commander in the human exploration fleet. His job was to talk to new species, to make friends across the stars, to help humanity find its place in a galaxy full of strange and wonderful beings. Fighting was not supposed to be part of the plan. But plans changed quickly when you stumbled into someone else's war. 3 weeks ago, his ship had entered this sector looking for trade routes. Instead, they found 2 alien empires tearing each other apart. The Valthene Empire and the Kashari rebels had been fighting for generations. Neither side wanted to stop. Neither side wanted strangers getting involved. Tay's captain had tried to leave. The Kashari had other ideas. They saw the human ship as a potential weapon or supply source. They attacked without warning. The human ship escaped, but Tay and his diplomatic team had been on the surface when the shooting started. Now they were trapped on a planet that wanted them dead. An explosion shook the ground beneath Tay's feet. He ducked into a doorway as debris rained down around him. His communication device crackled with static. He could not reach his team. He could not reach his ship. He was alone in a war zone with nothing but a basic sidearm and a translation device. The sound of fighting grew louder ahead. Tay knew he should go the other way. Every training manual said to avoid combat when possible, but his path back to the evacuation point went straight through that battle. He had no choice. He moved carefully through the ruins, staying low, keeping to the shadows. The fighting grew clearer as he got closer. He saw them now, 2 groups of aliens locked in brutal combat. The Valthene warriors wore silver armor that seemed to glow with inner light. The Kashari fighters were darker, covered in rough metal plates and carrying weapons that sparked with electricity. Then Tay saw her. She stood in the center of the battle like a force of nature. Her armor was different from the other Valthene soldiers, marked with symbols that glowed blue. In her hands, she held a blade that burned with cold fire. The weapon moved like liquid light, cutting through enemy weapons and armor with equal ease. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Her movements were perfect, each strike flowing into the next without wasted motion. This was not just a soldier. This was someone who had spent their entire life learning the art of war. But she was alone, too alone. Tay watched as more Kashari fighters surrounded her. She fought with incredible skill, but there were too many of them. One of her strikes went wide. An enemy soldier crashed into her from the side. She stumbled, and the glowing blade flew from her hands. The weapon skidded across the broken ground, its blue fire dimming as it came to rest against a pile of rubble. The Kashari fighters pressed their advantage. The warrior woman tried to fight with her bare hands, but without her weapon, she was overwhelmed. Tay found himself moving before he could think. His training screamed at him to stay hidden, to let the aliens handle their own war. But something deeper pushed him forward. He could not watch someone die when he might be able to help. He ran toward the fallen blade. Energy weapons fired around him. Something hot grazed his shoulder, burning through his uniform. He ignored the pain and dove for the weapon. His hands closed around the handle. The blade felt strange in his grip, heavier than it looked, but perfectly balanced. The blue fire along its edge flared brighter at his touch. He did not understand what he was holding, but he knew it was important. Tay raised the blade and charged toward the warrior woman. He had basic combat training, enough to know which end of a weapon to point at the enemy. The blade did most of the work for him. It cut through the first Kashari fighter's weapon like paper. The second fighter backed away when he saw the glowing blade coming. Tay reached the warrior woman. She stared at him with wide eyes, her face showing shock and confusion. She shouted something in her language that his translator could not catch. There was no time to explain. 3 more Kashari fighters rushed toward them. The warrior woman grabbed a weapon from a fallen enemy. Together they fought. She moved with trained precision. Tay just tried not to die. The blade in his hands seemed to guide him, pulling him into defensive positions he did not know he could make. Then he heard new voices shouting in the Valthine language. 3 warriors in silver armor crashed into the battle. They fought with the same deadly skill as the woman beside him. The Kashari fighters realized they were outnumbered. They retreated, disappearing into the ruins as quickly as they had come. The battle ended. Silence fell over the broken street except for the sound of breathing and distant explosions. Tay stood there, covered in dust and blood that was not his own. The glowing blade still burned in his hands. The warrior woman stepped toward him. She was tall, taller than most humans. Her face was pale, with sharp features and eyes that seemed to see right through him. She looked at the blade in his hands, then at his face, then back at the blade. The other 3 warriors gathered around them. One was female with short dark hair and suspicious eyes. The other 2 were male, one young and nervous, the other older with scars crossing his face. They all stared at Tay like he was something impossible. Tay understood. He was holding their commander's weapon. In many warrior cultures, that was a serious thing. He needed to return it properly. He turned the blade in his hands, holding it by the glowing edge carefully, offering the handle to the warrior woman. It was the respectful way, the way warriors in human history had returned weapons to their owners. Handle first, blade away, a gesture that said he trusted her not to strike him down. She reached for the handle. Her fingers were inches from taking it back. Then something happened that no one expected. The blade began to burn. Not with its normal blue fire. This was different. This was real heat, real pain. The metal grew hot in Tay's palm, burning his skin. Smoke rose from where his flesh touched the handle. The blue fire turned white, then brighter still, until everyone had to look away. Tay's hand felt like he had grabbed burning coals. Every nerve screamed at him to drop the weapon. His muscles tried to open his fingers automatically, but he held on. Through the pain, through the burning, he kept the blade steady. He kept offering it to her with the respect it deserved. The warrior woman stood frozen. Her 3 companions made sounds of pure horror. The youngest warrior fell to his knees. The scarred warrior drew his weapon, pointing it at Tay with shaking hands. The female warrior shouted something urgent and afraid. But Tay kept holding the blade out to its owner. His hand burned. His vision blurred with tears from the pain. But returning the weapon properly seemed more important than his comfort. Some things mattered more than pain. The warrior woman finally moved. She took the blade from his burning hand. The moment her fingers wrapped around the handle, the terrible heat stopped. The fire returned to its normal blue glow. Tay pulled his hand back and looked at his palm. The skin was red and blistered. Burns marked where his fingers had gripped the handle. It hurt worse now that he was not holding the blade. But he had done what needed to be done. He looked up at the warrior woman. She stared back at him with an expression he could not read. Behind her, her 3 warriors looked like they had seen a ghost. The youngest one was praying. The scarred one still pointed his weapon at Tay. The female one had her hand over her mouth in shock. Something important had just happened, something that went beyond a simple weapon return. Tay did not understand what. He just knew that his burned hand had somehow changed everything. The warrior woman spoke. Her voice was sharp and commanding. Tay's translation device crackled to life in his ear, turning her words into something he could understand. "Lower your weapons, now." The scarred warrior did not move. His weapon still pointed at Tay's chest. "Commander Hana, this creature touched the Soul Forge. It should be ash. It should be dead. This is wrong. This is against everything we know." "I said lower your weapon, Day." Hana's voice cut like a knife. "That is an order." Day hesitated, then slowly lowered his weapon, but his eyes never left Tay. His expression showed fear and anger mixed together. The young warrior was still on his knees, his hands pressed together in prayer. The gods have judged him. He burned but did not die. What does this mean? What does it mean? The female warrior, Mira, stepped closer to Tay. She looked at his burned hand with careful eyes. Commander, I have studied the old texts since I was a child. Never in all our history has anyone touched the Soul Forge and survived the judgment. The unworthy burn to ash in seconds, always, without exception. Hana looked at Tay. She studied his face like she was trying to read a book in a language she did not know. What is your name, human? Tay. His voice came out rougher than he expected. The pain in his hand was getting worse. Commander Tay of the Human Exploration Fleet. I did not mean to interfere in your battle. I was just trying to reach my people. You picked up my blade. Hana held the Soul Forge in front of her. The blue fire along its edge danced in the smoky air. Do you understand what you held? A weapon. Your weapon. Tay cradled his burned hand against his chest. I saw you lose it. I saw you in danger. I thought I could help. It is not just a weapon. Hana's voice grew softer but no less intense. The Soul Forge has been carried by the greatest warriors of my people for 3,000 years. It judges those who touch it. The worthy can hold it safely. The unworthy burn and die. There is no middle ground. There has never been a middle ground. Tay looked at his hand. The burns were bad, but he was alive. He did not understand. I am sorry if I did something wrong. I just wanted to return it to you properly. Properly. Hana repeated the word like she was tasting it. You held it handle first. You kept your grip even as it burned you. Why? That is how you return a blade to its owner, Tay said. Handle first. It shows respect. It shows you mean no harm. You are in pain. It was not a question. Yes. Yet you did not drop the blade. You did not throw it away. You held it steady until I could take it from you. It was your blade. You needed it back. My pain was not important compared to that. Hana stared at him for a long moment. Something changed in her face. The hardness softened just a little. Quan, stop praying and help me. Mira, Day, watch our surroundings. The Kashari may return. The young warrior, Quan, stood up quickly. He was younger than the others, maybe barely old enough to be a soldier. His eyes were still wide with shock. Commander, what are we going to do with him? The priests must be told. The High Temple must know about this. I know what must be done. Hana approached Tay slowly, like he was a dangerous animal that might attack. Human Tay, you saved my life today. My honor demands that I protect yours in return. But you have done something that should not be possible. My people will want answers. Some will want your death. Do you understand? Tay felt cold despite his burning hand. I understand. Will you come with me peacefully? Will you allow my healers to tend to your wounds? He looked at the three other warriors. Day still watched him with suspicion. Mira's hand rested on her weapon. Even young Quan looked uncertain. But Hana seemed different. There was something in her eyes that looked like curiosity, mixed with respect. I will come with you, Tai said. I do not want to fight you. I just want to find my people and leave this planet. Your people will have to wait, Hana said. First, we need to make sure you survive the next few hours. Mira, contact the transport. Tell them to prepare medical facilities. Tell them we have a guest who needs immediate care. Commander. Mira's voice was careful. Should I tell them what happened? About the Soul Forge? No, not yet. That conversation must happen in person, where I can control it. Hana looked at her blade, then at Tay's hand. This will cause problems. Big problems. But we will deal with them as they come. Day moved closer to Hana. His voice was low, meant only for her, but Tay's translator picked it up. You are risking everything for this alien. If the priests discover you are hiding what happened, they will call for your removal. They might call for your execution. Then I will face that when it comes, Hana said firmly. But I will not let an innocent being die because our beliefs say something that clearly is not completely true. He burned, Day. He survived. That means we do not understand the Soul Forge as well as we thought. Until we know more, I will protect him. A low humming sound filled the air. A transport vehicle appeared over the ruins, its silver hull reflecting the red sky. It landed nearby, sending dust and debris flying in all directions. Hana gestured toward the transport. Come, human Tai. Let us get you somewhere safe. Tay walked toward the transport, his legs shaking more than he wanted to admit. The pain in his hand was spreading up his arm now. He felt dizzy and sick, but he kept walking. Inside the transport, the air was cool and clean. Medical equipment lined the walls. A female Valthine in white robes waited there. Her face was young, but her eyes were old. She looked at Tay with professional interest. This is Yuna, our healer, Hana said. She will treat your burns. Yuna, this is Tay. He needs your help. Yuna gestured to a medical bed. Sit. Let me see your hand. Tay sat down carefully. His whole body felt heavy with exhaustion. Yuna took his injured hand gently. She examined the burns with careful attention. Her fingers were cool against his hot skin. These are serious burns, Yuna said. 2nd degree, possibly 3rd in some areas. The pattern is strange. It looks like energy burns, not thermal. What caused this? Everyone in the transport fell silent. Hana looked at her warriors. Leave us. Guard the door outside. No one enters without my permission. Mira, Day, and Quan exchanged glances but obeyed. They left the transport, leaving only Tay, Hana, and Yuna inside. Yuna looked between them. What happened? What am I treating here? Hana held up the Soul Forge. He touched this. He held it for almost a minute. It burned him, but he did not die. Yuna's face went pale. Her hand started to shake. She pulled away from Tay like he had suddenly become poisonous. That is not possible. The Soul Forge kills the unworthy in seconds. Everyone knows this. It is our most sacred truth. I know what everyone knows, Hana said quietly. I also know what I saw. He picked up my blade in the middle of a battle. He fought beside me with it. Then he returned it to me, handle first, in a gesture of respect. The blade burned him the entire time. He never dropped it. He never turned to ash. He stood there burning until I could take it from his hands. Yuna sat down hard on a bench. She looked at Tay like he was a puzzle she could not solve. This will change everything. If the priests learn of this, they will question 3,000 years of teaching. They will question the nature of the Soul Forge itself. Some will deny it. Others will call him a demon. Others will call him blessed. There will be chaos. That is why we must be careful about who learns this information, Hana said. But first, we must keep him alive. Can you heal his hand? Yuna took a deep breath. Her professional training seemed to take over. Yes, I can heal it. Our medical technology is quite advanced. But the scars will remain. Burns from the Soul Forge leave marks that cannot be removed. He will carry this for the rest of his life. I understand, Tay said. His voice sounded far away to his own ears. Thank you for helping me. Yuna started working. She applied some kind of gel to his hand. The pain immediately decreased. Then she brought out a device that looked like a metal glove. She placed it carefully over his injured hand. This will speed the healing process, Yuna explained. It will hurt at first as the damaged cells are repaired, but the pain will fade. Try not to move. The device activated. Tay felt a tingling sensation that turned into sharp pain. He gritted his teeth but did not pull away. After what he had endured holding the Soul Forge, this seemed manageable. Hana sat down across from him. While you heal, I need to ask you questions. Answer honestly. Your life may depend on it. I will answer honestly. Where are you from? What is your species? How many of you are there? Tay told her about Earth, about humanity's journey to the stars, about their small but growing presence in the galaxy. He explained that humans were explorers and traders, not warriors. He told her about his ship, about his team, about how they had accidentally entered this war. Hana listened carefully to every word. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Your people have only been traveling between stars for how long? She finally asked. 70 years. We are new to the galaxy, still learning, still meeting new species. And you have no special powers, no abilities that other species lack? None that I know of. We are just people. We feel pain. We bleed. We die like anyone else. Hana touched the Soul Forge at her side. Yet you survived its judgment. There must be something different about your species, something that allowed you to endure what kills others instantly. I do not know what that would be, Tay said honestly. I just know that I have been hurt before. Training accidents, combat situations. My hand hurt badly when I held your blade, but I have felt pain before. I knew I would not die from it, so I held on. You knew you would not die? Hana leaned forward. How? Because it was just burning my hand, not my whole body. I could feel where the pain stopped and started. I knew it was localized, painful, but not deadly. Hana stood up and paced the small space. Our legends say that the Soul Forge judges your entire being, your soul, not just your body. The unworthy are consumed completely because their souls are corrupt. But you are saying you simply endured the physical pain? I do not know about souls, Tay admitted. I only know about pain, and I knew that my pain was worth less than your life and your weapon. Hana stopped pacing. She looked at him with an expression that mixed confusion, respect, and something that might have been fear. You are either the bravest being I have ever met, or the most foolish. I have not yet decided which. Outside the transport, voices shouted. Day appeared at the door. Commander, we have received an urgent message from the High Temple. They are demanding your immediate return. They say they have heard disturbing reports from the battlefield. Hana's expression hardened. Someone talked. Word is spreading already. What do we do? Day asked. Hana looked at Tay, then at his hand healing in the medical device, then at her blade. We face this head-on. Yuna, how long until he can travel? His hand will be stable in 20 minutes, strong enough to move, though still healing. Then in 20 minutes we go to the High Temple, Hana said, and we tell them the truth, all of it. Tay felt his stomach drop. Will they kill me? Some will want to, Hana said honestly, but I will stand between you and them. You saved my life. Honor demands I save yours. That is the way of the warrior, human Tai. I hope your people understand honor, because you are going to need all the honor you can find in the hours ahead. The High Temple rose above the Valthine capital like a mountain of silver and glass. Tay had seen many impressive buildings in his travels across the galaxy, but nothing quite like this. It seemed to capture light and hold it, making the entire structure glow even as the sun set behind the hills. The transport landed on a platform halfway up the temple's side. Tay's hand still ached despite Yuna's treatment. The medical device was gone, replaced by a thin bandage that felt cool against his skin. But underneath he could feel the burns. They would scar. Yuna had promised him that. Stay close to me, Hana said as they exited the transport. Do not speak unless spoken to directly. Do not touch anything. The priests are difficult at the best of times. This is not the best of times. Mira, Day, and Quan followed behind them. All three warriors looked nervous. Even Day, who seemed fearless in combat, walked carefully through the temple's corridors. The halls were filled with Valthene in robes of different colors: blue robes for teachers, green robes for healers, white robes for those who served in meditation, and red robes for the warrior priests, those who combined military service with religious duty. Hana wore red armor instead of robes, but the symbols on her chest marked her as part of this religious order. Everyone stopped and stared as they passed. Word had spread fast. Tay could hear whispers following them through the halls. His translation device caught fragments of conversation. The human who touched the soul forge. Impossible. It must be a lie. Demon in disguise. Blessed by the gods. Heresy. The whispers grew louder as they climbed deeper into the temple. Finally, they reached a massive door carved with images of ancient warriors holding glowing blades. Two guards stood on either side. They opened the doors without a word. The council chamber was circular, with seats rising up in rings around a central platform. Hundreds of priests filled those seats, all wearing robes of red. At the highest point sat 7 figures in deeper red robes, almost black. These were the High Council, the leaders of the Valthene warrior priests. Hana walked to the center platform. She gestured for Tay to follow. He did, feeling hundreds of eyes tracking his every movement. His heart pounded hard enough that he thought everyone must be able to hear it. A woman's voice rang out from the highest seat. "Commander Hana, you were ordered to return immediately, yet you took time to bring your medical transport. Why?" "Because my guest was injured, High Priestess Su." Hana bowed her head in respect. "I could not bring him before you without first treating his wounds." "Your guest." High Priestess Su stood up. She was old, her face lined with years of living, but her eyes were sharp and clear. "Is this the human?" "His name is Tay. He is a commander in the human exploration fleet. He saved my life in combat against Kashari forces." Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Su raised her hand and silence fell instantly. "We have heard troubling reports, Commander. Reports that this human touched the soul forge. Reports that the blade burned him but did not consume him. Are these reports accurate?" Hana straightened her shoulders. "They are accurate, High Priestess." The murmurs became shouts. Priests jumped to their feet. Some called out in anger, others in disbelief. Su had to raise her hand 3 times before order returned. "Explain," Su commanded. "Tell us exactly what happened." Hana told the story. She described the battle, how she lost her grip on the soul forge, how Tay retrieved it and fought beside her. She described how he returned the blade to her, holding it handle first despite the pain. She described the burning, the smoke, the terrible heat. And she described how he stood there, enduring it all until she could take the blade from his hands. When she finished, the chamber was completely silent. No one moved, no one spoke. The weight of what she had said pressed down on everyone present. Finally, a man in the High Council stood up. He was younger than Su, with sharp features and intelligent eyes. "I am Priest Jin. I study the ancient texts and the history of the Soul Forge. What you describe should not be possible. The Soul Forge is our most sacred artifact. It has judged warriors for 3,000 years. The unworthy die instantly. Always. Without exception." "I know what the texts say," Hana replied. "I have studied them since childhood. But I also know what I saw. The human burned. The human survived." Another council member stood. This one was a woman with a scar running down her face. "Perhaps the blade is damaged. Perhaps it no longer functions as it should." "The blade functions perfectly." Hana held up the soul forge. The blue fire along its edge danced in the dim light. I have used it since the incident. It works exactly as it always has. Then the human must be using some kind of technology, a male priest suggested. Some device that protected him from the judgment. He was searched thoroughly, Hana said. He carries only a communication device and a basic weapon. Nothing that could protect him from the Soul Forge. Sue looked directly at Tay. Human, you have stood silent while we discuss your fate. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Tay's mouth was dry. He swallowed hard before speaking. I did not mean to cause trouble. I saw a warrior in danger. I helped. That is all. That is all. Sue repeated his words slowly. You picked up our most sacred artifact. You survived its judgment. You caused a theological crisis that may shake the foundations of our faith. And you say that is all? I did not know the blade was sacred, Tay said. I just knew it was important to her. I wanted to return it. Where I come from, you return a warrior's weapon with respect. Handle first, even if it hurts to do so. Even if it hurts. Jin stepped down from his seat. He approached Tay carefully, studying him like a scientist examining a new specimen. Tell me, human, how much did it hurt? A lot. Tay held up his bandaged hand. It felt like holding fire. The worst burn I ever had. Yet you did not drop it. No. Why not? Tay thought about the question. Because some things are more important than pain. Respect is one of those things. Honor is one of those things. She needed her blade back. My comfort was not more important than that. Jin looked at Tay's hand, then at the Soul Forge, then back at Tay's face. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. What are you thinking, Jin? Sue asked. I am thinking that we may have misunderstood the Soul Forge for 3,000 years, Jin said. I would like to examine the human more closely. With your permission, High Priestess, I would like to conduct tests. Tests? Tay felt cold. What kind of tests? Nothing harmful, Jin said quickly. I simply want to understand how you survived. I want to measure your physical responses, your pain tolerance, your psychological state. This is a unique opportunity to learn something new about an artifact we thought we completely understood. A priest stood up in the back rows. His voice was angry. This is heresy. We should not be testing the human. We should be executing him. He has committed blasphemy by touching the Soul Forge. The penalty for blasphemy is death. Several other priests shouted their agreement. Others shouted them down. The chamber erupted into arguments and accusations. Hana moved closer to Tay, her hand resting on a weapon at her belt. Sue's voice cut through the chaos like a knife. Silence, all of you, silence now. The chamber fell quiet again. Sue looked tired suddenly, older than she had seemed before. This council is divided. That much is clear. Some see the human as a demon, some see him as blessed, some see him as proof that our understanding is incomplete. We cannot make a decision today, not with emotions running this high. What are you proposing? Jin asked. I propose that we hold a formal trial, Sue said. 3 days from now. During that time, Jin may conduct his tests with the human's permission. We will gather all evidence, hear all arguments, and then make a final decision about what this means and what to do with the human. And until then? Hana asked. Where does Tai stay? He will remain in the temple, under guard, Sue said. You, Commander Hana, will be responsible for his safety and behavior. If he tries to escape, you will face punishment. If harm comes to him before the trial, you will face punishment. Do you accept this responsibility? Hana did not hesitate. I accept, High Priestess. 3 days. Sue looked at Tay. You have 3 days to convince this council that you deserve to live. I suggest you use that time wisely. The council session ended. Priests filed out of the chamber, still arguing among themselves. Hana led Tai out through a side door, down a long corridor, and into a small room with a simple bed and a window overlooking the city. "This will be your quarters," Hana said. "The door locks from the outside. Guards will be posted, but the room is comfortable enough." "Thank you." Tai sat down on the bed. His hand throbbed. His head hurt. Everything felt too big and too confusing. "What happens in 3 days?" "We prove that you deserve to live," Hana said. "Jin wants to study you. Let him. Answer his questions honestly. Show them that you are not a demon or a threat. Show them that you are just a person who did what you thought was right. And if they decide to kill me anyway?" Hana was quiet for a moment. "Then I will stand between you and them. I gave you my word. I do not break my word." "Why?" Tai looked up at her. "You do not know me. Your people want me dead. Why risk everything to protect me?" "Because you risked everything to save me," Hana said simply. "You picked up a burning blade to help a stranger. You held it even as it hurt you. That is the mark of a true warrior, regardless of species. My honor demands that I repay that debt." She moved toward the door, then paused. "Get some rest, Tai. Tomorrow Jin will begin his tests. You will need your strength." After she left, Tai lay down on the bed and stared at the ceiling. 3 days. 3 days to convince an entire civilization that he was not a monster. 3 days to live. He looked at his bandaged hand. The pain was fading to a dull ache. But he knew the scars would remain. He would carry this mark for the rest of his life, however long that might be. Outside his window, the city lights began to glow as darkness fell. Somewhere out there, his team was probably still trying to reach the evacuation point. Somewhere out there, his ship waited for him to return. But here, in this small room in an alien temple, Tai was alone with no way to contact them, no way to call for help. All he had was his word, his honesty, and the hope that these alien priests would see him as something more than a threat to their beliefs. It did not seem like much, but it was all he had. Sleep was hard to find that night. Every time Tai closed his eyes, he saw the soul forge burning in his hand. He felt the pain again, sharp and terrible. But mixed with the pain was something else. A memory of Hana's face when she took the blade from him. A look of respect, of curiosity, of something that might have been understanding. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe if he could help them understand, they would let him live. Or maybe, in 3 days, he would die in this beautiful temple on an alien world, and his people would never know what happened to him. Either way, he would face it with the same honor he had shown when he picked up that burning blade. Some things were more important than fear. Honor was one of those things. Morning light came through the window too early. Tai woke up stiff and sore. His hand hurt worse than it had the night before. He unwrapped the bandage carefully and looked at the damage. The burns were healing, but slowly. Red and angry marks covered his palm where he had gripped the Soul Forge's handle. The door opened. Jin entered, carrying equipment that looked both medical and scientific. Behind him came 2 assistants, both young priests in blue robes. They set up their equipment quickly and efficiently. "Good morning, Tai," Jin said. His tone was professional, but not unkind. "Are you ready to begin? Do I have a choice?" "Not really, but I promise to be as gentle as possible. I am a scientist, not a torturer." Jin gestured to a chair they had brought. "Sit, please. Let me examine your hand first." Tai sat down. Jin took his injured hand gently, turning it this way and that in the light. He made notes on a device, took images, measured the burns with precise instruments. "Interesting," Jin murmured. "The burn pattern is very specific. It follows the exact shape of the Soul Forge's handle. The temperature was extremely high, but localized. If the heat had spread to your whole body, you would have died instantly, but it stayed contained to your palm and fingers. That is why I knew I would survive, Tay said. I could feel where the pain was. Just my hand, not my whole body. Jin looked up sharply. You made that calculation during the burning? While in extreme pain? Yes. It hurt badly, but I have been hurt before. I knew this would not kill me. It would just hurt a lot. Jin sat back, thinking. Tell me about other times you have been hurt. How do humans handle pain? Tay told him about his training, about accidents and injuries that happened during his career. He explained how human military training included learning to push through pain, to keep functioning even when hurt. He described how humans understood pain as a signal, not necessarily a threat to life. Jin listened carefully, taking notes the entire time. Fascinating. So humans have significant pain tolerance. You can experience extreme discomfort and still make rational decisions? Some humans more than others, but yes, we can usually think through pain if we need to. The Valthine are not like this, Jin said. When we experience extreme pain, our nervous systems shut down quickly. It is a protective mechanism. The body stops functioning to prevent further damage. Most species in the galaxy are similar to us. But humans are different? It appears so. Let me test your pain threshold. Jin brought out a device that looked like a small rod. This will produce a controlled pain stimulus. I want to see at what point you can no longer function normally. For the next hour, Jin ran tests. Each one involved some form of controlled pain or discomfort. Tay gritted his teeth through all of them. Some hurt worse than others, but he could think clearly through all of it. He could answer questions, solve simple problems, make decisions even while experiencing significant pain. Jin's assistants looked shocked by the results. One of them whispered something about impossible tolerance levels. Jin just kept taking notes, his expression growing more thoughtful with each test. Finally, Jin set his equipment aside. I need to examine the Soul Forge itself. Commander Hana is bringing it now. Are you willing to touch it again? Tay felt his stomach drop. You want me to hold the blade again? Only if you consent, but it would help me understand what happened. I want to measure the energy output, the heat patterns, everything, with proper equipment this time. Will it hurt as much as before? Probably. Maybe worse since your hand is already injured. Jin looked at him seriously. I will not force you. But this information could save your life at the trial. Tay thought about it. 3 days to prove he deserved to live. 1 day was already almost gone. I will do it, but I do not know how long I can hold it. Even a few seconds would give me valuable data. Hana arrived carrying the Soul Forge. She looked at the equipment set up around the room, then at Ty. You agreed to this? I need to prove I am not a demon, Tay said. This seems like the best way. Hana set the blade on a table. Jin and his assistants surrounded it with sensors and measuring devices. They worked quickly, positioning everything perfectly. Jin explained what each instrument did, though Tai understood only about half of it. Ready? Jin asked. Remember, you can stop at any time. Just drop the blade. Tay approached the table. The Soul Forge rested there, its blue fire dancing along the edge. It looked beautiful and dangerous at the same time. He reached out slowly, his hand shaking slightly. His fingers closed around the handle. The pain hit instantly, just as bad as he remembered. The metal burned hot against his already injured skin. The white fire erupted around his hand. Every nerve screamed at him to let go. His vision blurred with tears, but Tay held on. He counted in his head. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3, 4, 5. The equipment around them beeped and buzzed. Jin watched his instruments with intense focus. Incredible! The energy output is massive. Temperature readings are off the charts. But it is all focused on the contact point. None of the energy is spreading to his body. It is like the blade is trying to burn him but failing to do enough damage. 10 seconds. 15, 20. Tay, that is enough, Hana said. Her voice sounded worried. You proved your point. But Tay wanted to be sure. He held on for 30 seconds total, then finally let go. His hand felt like it was still on fire, even though he was no longer touching the blade. He stumbled backward. Hana caught him before he fell. Quickly, get the healing device. Jin ordered his assistants. They rushed to apply the medical gel to Tay's hand. The cool sensation helped, but the pain took longer to fade this time. Jin studied his instruments with excitement. Look at this. Look at these readings. The Soul Forge produces an energy field that causes extreme pain through nerve stimulation. It also produces actual heat, enough to burn tissue, but the energy does not spread. It stays localized to whoever is touching the blade. What does that mean? Hana asked. It means the Soul Forge is not actually judging worthiness through divine power, Jin said slowly. It is testing physical tolerance. Most species, when they experience this level of pain, have an automatic response. Their nervous system shuts down completely to protect the body. This shutdown causes immediate death if the pain is severe enough. The person literally dies from shock. But humans do not have this response. Hana looked at Tai. Human nervous systems are different, Jin explained. They can experience extreme pain and keep functioning. Their brains can override the pain signals and maintain consciousness. It is not that they are immune to the pain, they just do not shut down from it. One of Jin's assistants spoke up. So the Soul Forge has been killing people by causing such extreme pain that their bodies shut down automatically? Exactly, Jin said. And the Valthene who could wield it successfully probably had genetic variations that made them more resistant to the specific frequency of pain the blade produces. They were not blessed by the gods. They just had lucky biology. That is heresy, Hana said quietly. You are saying our entire belief system is based on a misunderstanding. I am saying we need to reconsider what worthiness means, Jin corrected. The Valthene who wielded the Soul Forge were still great warriors. Their ability to use the blade was still special and rare. We just misunderstood the mechanism. We thought it was divine judgment. It was actually biological compatibility. And Tay? Hana asked. What does this make him? Jin looked at Tay with something like respect. It makes him someone with extraordinary mental strength. He does not have biological resistance to the blade. It hurts him terribly. But he can choose to endure anyway. In some ways, that is more impressive than having natural immunity. Tay sat down heavily. His hand throbbed with renewed pain. So I am not special. I am just stubborn. You are both, Jin said. The question is, will the High Council accept this explanation? Will they be willing to admit that the Soul Forge is advanced technology, not divine magic? Some will, Hana said. Some never will, and some will be angry that we questioned our beliefs at all. Then we must present the evidence carefully. Jin began gathering his data. I have measurements, recordings, analysis, everything we need to show the Council what really happened. The trial is in 2 days. That gives me time to prepare a presentation. Will it be enough? Tay asked. Jin was quiet for a moment. I do not know. Science and faith do not always agree. Some people will see this evidence and understand. Others will reject it because it challenges what they have always believed. We can only present the truth and hope that wisdom prevails. After Jin and his assistants left, Hana stayed with Tay. She looked at the Soul Forge lying on the table, its blue fire still dancing peacefully. I have carried that blade for 5 years, she said softly. I was chosen to wield it because I showed skill and dedication. I thought the gods had judged me worthy. Now Jin says it was just genetic luck. That my body happened to tolerate the blade's energy field. Does that make your skill less real? Tay asked. You are still an amazing warrior. I saw you fight. The blade did not make you great. You were already great. Perhaps. Hana picked up the blade. It did not burn in her hand. The blue fire wrapped around her fingers like a friend. But it changes how I see myself, how I see my place in the universe. If the gods did not choose me, then what am I? You are someone who trained hard and became excellent at what you do, Tay said. You are someone who saved my life by protecting me from your own people. You are someone who keeps her word even when it is difficult. That seems like enough to me. Hana smiled slightly. You are wise for someone so young. How old are you? 32. I am 41 by your years. Old enough to have seen many battles. But this is my first time having my entire worldview challenged. She sheathed the soul forge. I wonder how many other Valthene will feel this way when the truth comes out. Not everyone has to know, Tay suggested. Jin could present his findings to just the council. Let them decide what to tell everyone else. Secrets have a way of spreading, Hana said, especially important ones. But perhaps you are right. Perhaps the council will choose to keep this information contained. Change is difficult. Sometimes it is kinder to let people adjust slowly. The door opened. Quan entered, looking nervous. Commander, I have news from the Kashari front. They have launched a major offensive. The Temple Guard is being mobilized. You are being recalled to duty. Now. Hana looked at Tai. But the trial is in 2 days. I am responsible for the human safety. High Priestess Su says that Mira and Day can guard him. She needs you at the front. Your skills are required. Hana stood silent for a moment, clearly torn between duty and honor. Finally, she turned to Tay. I gave you my word that I would protect you, but my people need me in battle. Can you survive 2 days with Mira and Day as your guards? Mira does not trust me, Tay said, and Day thinks I am a demon. They are good warriors. They will follow orders, and their orders are to keep you safe until the trial. Hana put her hand on his shoulder briefly. 2 days, Tay. Then we will face the council together. Be brave until then. I will try. After Hana left with Quan, Tai was alone again. His hand hurt. His future was uncertain. But Jin's tests had revealed something important. The Soul Forge was not magic. It was technology, and that meant there was a rational explanation for what happened. Maybe that would be enough. He looked out the window at the city below. Somewhere out there, battles were being fought. People were dying. And here he sat, waiting to find out if he would be killed for touching a blade he did not understand. But he had survived this long. He had endured pain that should have killed him. He had earned the respect of at least a few Valthene. That was something. That was more than he had when this started. 2 more days. Then he would face the council and learn his fate. Whatever happened, he would face it with honor, just like he had faced the burning blade. Some things were more important than fear. The trial day arrived with cold morning rain. Tay stood at his window watching water run down the glass. His hand had healed enough to move normally, but the scars remained. Pink and white marks covered his palm in the exact pattern of the Soul Forge's handle. He would carry these marks for the rest of his life. Mira and Day came to escort him to the council chamber. They had been professional guards for 2 days, keeping him safe but maintaining distance. Day still looked at him with suspicion. Mira was simply cold and efficient. It is time, Mira said. The council waits. They walked through the temple halls. More people filled the corridors today. Word had spread about the trial. Everyone wanted to see what would happen to the human who survived the Soul Forge. Some faces showed curiosity. Others showed anger or fear. No one looked friendly. The council chamber was packed, every seat filled with priests in red robes. Standing room in the back held even more observers. The air felt heavy with tension and expectation. At the center platform, High Priestess Sue sat with the other 6 council leaders. Jin stood off to the side with his equipment and data displays ready. Tay walked to the center platform. The chamber fell silent. Hundreds of eyes watched him. He kept his back straight, his head up. If he was going to die today, he would do it with dignity. Sue stood. Her voice carried through the chamber without effort. "We are gathered to determine the fate of the human called Tay. 3 days ago, he touched the Soul Forge and survived its judgment. This has never happened before in our recorded history. We must decide what this means and what to do about it." She gestured to a priest in the front row. "The prosecution will present their case first." The priest who stood was the same one who had called for Tay's execution 3 days ago. His face was hard, his voice angry. "High Council honored priests, the case is simple. This human committed blasphemy by touching our most sacred artifact. The penalty for blasphemy is death. It has always been death. We should not hesitate just because the human survived. His survival changes nothing about his crime." Several priests in the chamber nodded and voiced agreement. The prosecutor continued. "Some say his survival proves he is blessed. I say it proves he is unnatural. He should have died. The fact that he did not means something is wrong with him, wrong with his entire species. Humans are strange and dangerous. We should remove this threat before it spreads." More voices joined in support. Tay felt his stomach twist with fear, but he kept his face calm. He would not give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. Sue raised her hand for silence. "The prosecution has spoken. Now the defense may present their case. Priest Jin, you have conducted tests. What did you learn?" Jin stepped forward. He activated his data displays, showing charts and measurements that floated in the air above the platform. "High Council, I have studied the Soul Forge extensively over the past 3 days. What I found will challenge our beliefs, but I ask you to consider the evidence with open minds." He showed his readings from when Tay touched the blade. "The Soul Forge produces an energy field that causes extreme pain and physical burning. When most species experience this level of pain, their nervous systems shut down completely. This shutdown is fatal. The person dies from shock before the burning can kill them." Jin brought up comparative data. "However, some Valthene have genetic variations that make them resistant to the blade's specific energy frequency. They still feel pain, but less intensely. These individuals can wield the Soul Forge because their biology protects them. We have always called them blessed by the gods, but the truth is they simply have compatible genetics." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some priests looked interested. Others looked angry at the suggestion that divine blessing was just genetics. "Humans are different," Jin continued. He showed Tay's test results. "They do not have biological resistance to the blade's energy. When a human touches the Soul Forge, they experience the full force of its pain. It hurts them terribly. But their nervous systems do not shut down from pain the way ours do. They can endure extreme suffering and remain conscious, remain functional. It is a different kind of strength, but strength nonetheless." The prosecutor jumped up. "This is heresy. You are saying the Soul Forge is not a divine artifact. You are saying our greatest warriors were not chosen by the gods. You are destroying 3,000 years of faith." "I am saying we misunderstood," Jin replied calmly. "The Valthene who wielded the Soul Forge were still great warriors. Their deeds were still heroic. But their ability to hold the blade came from biology, not divine judgment. Does that make their achievements less meaningful?" "Yes," the prosecutor said flatly. "If the gods did not choose them, then they are not special. Anyone with the right genetics could do what they did." "Not anyone." Jin gestured to Tay. "This human does not have the right genetics. The blade hurts him more than it would hurt us, yet he held it anyway. He chose to endure pain that would kill most beings. Is that not also a form of worthiness? Is that not also something to respect? Sue leaned forward. You are saying both paths are valid? Genetic resistance and mental endurance? I am saying worthiness comes in many forms, Jin said. Our ancestors who wielded the Soul Forge were blessed with bodies that could tolerate it. This human is blessed with a mind that can endure anything. Both are rare, both are valuable. Both should be honored. The chamber erupted into arguments. Priests shouted at each other. Some agreed with Jin, others called him a heretic. The noise grew so loud that Sue had to stand and demand silence 3 times before order returned. When the chamber finally quieted, Sue looked at Tay. Human Tay, you have heard what Jin discovered. You have heard the accusations against you. Now you may speak in your own defense. What do you wish to say? Tay's mouth was dry. He had not prepared a speech. He had no fancy words ready. He could only tell the truth. I did not mean to cause problems, he said. His voice sounded small in the huge chamber. I saw a warrior in danger. I helped because that seemed like the right thing to do. Where I come from, you help people who need help. You return a warrior's weapon with respect. You endure pain, if that is what honor requires. He held up his scarred hand. I did not know your blade was sacred. I did not know it would burn me. When it started hurting, I held on anyway because giving the blade back properly seemed more important than my comfort. That is all I did. I just tried to do the right thing. But you challenged our beliefs, a priest called out. You proved that our sacred artifact is not what we thought. I did not prove anything, Tay said. Priest Jin proved something by studying the blade. I just held it and got hurt. If that changed your beliefs, maybe your beliefs needed to change. The chamber fell silent again. Tay realized what he had said. He had just insulted their entire faith system to their faces. He waited for them to call for his execution. But Sue was smiling slightly. Perhaps you are right, human. Perhaps our beliefs did need to change. Perhaps we were too certain that we understood everything. She stood and addressed the full chamber. I have listened to both sides. I have considered the evidence. Now I will give my judgment. Priest Jin, your research is sound. The Soul Forge is indeed ancient technology, not divine magic. This truth is hard to accept, but truth is truth regardless of our feelings. Some priests groaned. Others nodded. Sue continued. However, this does not diminish our faith. Our ancestors were still heroes. They still achieved great things. The mechanism of the Soul Forge does not matter as much as what it represented, a test of strength, courage, and worthiness. That test remains valid even if we now understand it better. She turned to Tay. As for you, human, you have done nothing wrong. You helped a warrior in battle. You returned her weapon with honor. The fact that our blade hurt you is not your fault. You endured that pain with courage and dignity. These are qualities we Valthene value highly. The prosecutor stood again. High Priestess, are you saying we should let him go free after he challenged our entire belief system? I am saying we should thank him, Sue said firmly. He showed us that worthiness comes in many forms. He showed us that our understanding was incomplete. He gave us an opportunity to grow. Why would we punish someone for teaching us something valuable? She looked at the other council leaders. I propose that we release Ty immediately with our apologies and our gratitude. All those in favor? 6 hands rose. Only the prosecutor's seat remained empty. The vote passed. Sue smiled. Then it is decided. Tay, you are free to return to your people. You have committed no crime. You have our blessing to leave in peace. Tay felt his legs nearly give out from relief. Thank you, High Priestess. There is more. Sue continued. Priest Jin, I want you to continue your research on the Soul Forge. Learn everything you can about it. Then we will decide what to tell our people about what we discovered. Change must come slowly, but it must come. Jin bowed. I will do my best, High Priestess. And I have one more proposal. Su looked at Tay again. Humanity is new to the galaxy. You are still learning, still making friends. We Valthene could be those friends. I propose that Tai become the first human ambassador to our empire. He has already shown courage and honor. Let him be the bridge between our peoples. Tay was shocked. Ambassador? But I am just a commander. I am not trained for diplomacy. You held a burning blade to return it respectfully to its owner, Su said. That is better diplomacy than most trained diplomats could manage. What do you say? Will you accept this position? Tay thought about his ship, his team, his old life. Then he thought about Hana, about Jin, about the possibility of bringing two civilizations together. Yes, I accept. The chamber erupted in cheers and protests both, but the cheers were louder. 2 weeks later, Tay stood on a balcony overlooking the Valthene capital. His hand had fully healed, leaving only the scars. He wore new clothes now, formal robes that marked him as an ambassador. His team had been located and brought to the capital. They were safe and confused, but happy to see him alive. Hana joined him on the balcony. She had returned from the front lines yesterday. The battle was over. The Kashari had retreated. She looked tired but satisfied. How does it feel to be an ambassador? She asked. Strange, Tay admitted. I keep expecting someone to tell me it was all a mistake. No mistake. You earned this position. Hana leaned against the railing. Jin is training a new group of warriors, Valthene and humans working together, learning from each other's strengths. It is strange to see, but good strange. What about the Soul Forge? Tay asked. Are people accepting the truth about it? Slowly. Some still insist it is divine magic. Others have accepted Jin's explanation. Most are somewhere in between, trying to figure out what they believe. Hana looked at him. But everyone agrees on one thing. What you did was remarkable. Holding that blade despite the pain. That took real courage. I was just doing what seemed right. That is what makes it remarkable. Hana smiled. You did not think about being brave. You just were brave. Below them, a training ground filled with warriors practicing together. Valthene and humans sparring side by side. Mira was down there teaching human combat techniques to Valthene students. Even Day had joined the program, though he still looked uncertain about it. Do you regret it? Hana asked. Picking up my blade that day? Tay looked at his scarred hand. The marks would never fade. He would carry them forever as a reminder of that moment when everything changed. No, he said finally. I do not regret it. Every species has its own kind of strength. The Valthene have biological advantages. Humans have mental endurance. Both are valuable. Both should be respected. I am glad I could help prove that. You did more than prove it, Hana said. You lived it. You showed us that difference is not something to fear. It is something to celebrate. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the alien city that was becoming familiar. In the distance, stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Each star was a sun with its own planets, its own species, its own unique strengths. What do you think we will find out there? Hana asked, gesturing to the stars. What other species are waiting to teach us about ourselves? I do not know, Tay said, but I hope we meet them with open minds. I hope we remember that what seems impossible might just be different, that what seems like a threat might actually be a gift. Hana nodded. That is wisdom worth remembering. Perhaps you will make a good ambassador after all. I will try. That is all anyone can do. Below them, the warriors continued training. Human and Valthene voices mixed together, calling out instructions and encouragement. It was a small beginning, but beginnings mattered. From small changes came great transformations. Tay thought about the path that brought him here, a desperate battle, a burning blade, a choice to endure pain for the sake of honor. Such a small moment in the grand scale of the galaxy, but from that moment came understanding. From understanding came friendship. And from friendship might come a future where different species worked together instead of fighting each other. It was a good future to work toward, a future worth the scars he carried. "Come," Hana said. "Jin wants to show us his latest research. He thinks he has found other ancient artifacts like the Soul Forge. Each one tests different qualities. He wants humans and Valthine to test them together." "More burning blades?" Tay asked with a slight smile. "Perhaps, or perhaps something completely different. Either way, we face it together. That is the new way. Different species, different strengths, working as one." They walked back inside the temple together, human and Valthine, ambassador and warrior priest. Behind them, the stars grew brighter in the darkening sky. Each star was a possibility. Each possibility was a chance to learn something new about the galaxy and themselves. Some things were more important than fear. Honor was one of those things. Understanding was another. And the courage to hold on to both, even when it burned, was perhaps the most important of all. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. Humanity had only just begun to explore it. But with friends like the Valthine at their side, with the wisdom that came from enduring pain for the sake of respect, with the understanding that strength came in many forms, perhaps they would find their place among the stars. Perhaps they already had.